It's my pleasure indeed to welcome Bishop Matthew Kukah.
Thank you very much. You
Good
should come
morning.
to my house. I don't live in this hotel. Next time you come to my house.
Bishop, we're coming to your house after the program.
That's
Good to have you with us.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Good. We're going to look at developments in Nigeria, and I'd like to start with the hottest thing, what I consider as the hottest thing at the moment. I want to know your view about the national dialogue. Let's start from there.
That's not the hottest thing.
Oh, what is the hottest thing?
The last time I was here in your Lagos studio, the Super Eagles were playing.
That is true.
Okay,
So the Super Eagles are playing.
And they have won.
They're playing Ethiopia.
Okay.
All right.
We won that one, and we're playing Ethiopia again, and we're going to win tonight.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's the hottest thing. But it's also very interesting that it's happening at the same time that the Super Eagles are playing. You don't remember, but I do.
Don't remember?
I remember.
I do remember.
Oh my God, I'm not surprised. I mean, your brain is like a camera. It just clicks those things and stores them somewhere.
No, because I remember I was complaining in the studio in South Africa, at the Cup of Nations, and I was complaining that the Ethiopians had sent more supporters to South Africa than Nigeria had done. And I was also agonizing about the fact that we weren't supporting our team. So that's why I remember, because so anyway, let's get back to your business.
And a lot of people have made efforts this time around to make sure that Nigerians trip there in large numbers. Airlines have increased the number of flights going to Calabar today. From what our reporter was saying to me this morning, I think there's going to be 2 or 3 flights to Calabar today, which normally would have been 1. And then a lot of Nigerians are being told, wear the green, white, green. Not Chelsea, not Man U outfit. Wear the green, white, green. If you want to come, don't come to a Calabar unless you're wearing green, white.
But it's not their fault. Our league is not doing well. They would have been wearing some of those shirts. So they now resort to Man U and Chelsea
And they're being
and Liverpool
it's not an
shirts.
excuse.
Okay, so let's get back to our conversation.
Back to our conversation, my lord.
Sorry.
Yes, the national dialogue, to start with.
What about?
What are your thoughts?
Very little to say outside what Governor Fashola very brilliantly summed up in about less than a minute. It's been my position, but I'm also happy that he made reference to the 2005 conference, which I was secretary. And it is my experience in that conference that informed my decision to conclude that this was, for me, I consider it a coup against the opposition. I mean, those has been my views. But also, from my experience, and I've served in different initiatives in Nigeria, I've been very lucky in that regard. I mean, I served at the Political Reform Conference, I served at Kukah, I served at the Electoral Reform Committee. I served also in a committee set up by the 19 governors to deal with the issues of Boko Haram. Tragically, no government has shown any seriousness in terms of attending to some of the issues. My worry is that the political class in Nigeria simply considers ideas to be a threat. And to that extent, it is this cynicism that informs my personal belief that we can have all the talk in the world. It's not going to come to anything, in part because we've had not less than 3 or 4 or so initiatives just over this whole question of Boko Haram. There's no evidence that any white paper has been issued. We've had piles and piles and piles of paper. If you go now to the cabinet office or you ask people in government, can we see copies of the Oputa panel report? Nobody knows where the copies are. You ask, can we see where the copies of the electoral reform report are? Nobody knows where they can find those documents. So there is a certain blatant lack of seriousness in terms of how the lessons we can learn from the past. And I've absolutely no doubt in my mind that the national confab, as you call it, will suffer basically the same fate. I mean, we're hopefully going to have elections next year or 2015. Assuming this committee manages to finish its work, we're talking about constituting a body to go to the next level. When is that going to happen? Then you're talking about a referendum. And, Nigerians like to pick phrases that are popular in other places. And we think that because we like photocopies, therefore, if it's worked in Malaysia, let's also try it here. If it worked in Singapore, let's also, the whole place is full of photocopies. What we don't admit is the discipline that is required to bring those things to fruition. So the point I'm making therefore is when we talk about submit this thing to a referendum, is it the same political class that cannot organize election that can organize a referendum? Secondly, the fact of the matter is that you're not going to have anybody represent any state in Nigeria without the approval of the governors. All right? It is the same governors that have sent people to all these conferences. So what is Lagos saying that he cannot trust a Fashola to say? What is Ekiti saying? What is Rivers saying? What is Sokoto saying that the present government, because at the end of the day, it's not as if you're going to bring people from another planet. It is the same. A lot of the people who were with me at the political reform conference, I was unaware of how politically loaded the platform was. And my problem with a lot of these initiatives, from my own reflection, is that perhaps what the federal government of Nigeria should do is, if you are setting up these initiatives, make sure that the participants, their political life is terminated at the end of those initiatives. Because what you have from the beginning, from 1979, 1988, all through these processes, politicians simply come together and organize themselves how to form political parties, and that is how we keep going round and round in circles. So there must be, in my view, a termination, that if you get the kind of people whom you want to do this, it must be people who have no political interest, because the crisis of Nigeria is tied to the fact that politicians continue to bury their selfish interests into the national agenda. And this is why we never seem to get off the ground, because everything that is going to be amended in the constitution is marred by personal interest. This is why we're talking about amending the constitution. We've been talking for since 1999. We can't make up our mind about the kind of constitution we want. When Mandela was sworn in as president in South Africa, the parliament in South Africa simply went there to append their signatures to an already existing draft constitution. Okay? There was nothing like any debate about a constitution in South Africa. Here in Nigeria, from 1990 up till today, we are still debating the constitution. While we are debating the constitution, the stealing is not reducing. Where do people find which clause of the constitution allow politicians to steal the way they are stealing in Nigeria? We're talking about amending the constitution. That's why I said what Governor Fashola said is very simple. You don't need to hold a conference about fixing a road. You don't need to hold a conference about education. We don't need to hold a conference about hunger. And there shouldn't be any debate, ideological debate, as to whether people are going to be fed by this party or that party. So the inability of the political class to come to terms with the fine issues of governance is really what is at stake. And you're not going to resolve these issues by having conferences, because the political actors are never going to read the documents that you are talking about.
Okay.
That's profound.
From what you're saying then, your position will then be that you don't think that this should even be in our conversation, whether dialogue or no dialogue.
Look, my grandmother used to say that the bird that calls the rain is the first to be beaten by the rain. And I'm happy that my friend Governor Fashola said here that this is what people like him and others have been calling for. Okay, now it's here. I know the words of the song. Now we found love. What are we going to do with it? You want a conference? Here it is. What are we going to do with it? And
we don't want it anymore, because it's not.
Now we want it. Now we don't want it. And this is what I'm saying. Now the president has snookered everybody. He's snookered the opposition. And you better be sincere enough to accept that. If you're a good goalkeeper, when JJ Okocha dribbles and scores, even as a goalkeeper, the goal has been scored against you. You should say, this guy is a player. Okay, he scored a goal, but you accept that. So the point I'm making is, President Jonathan has all the cards in his favor, because he's not going to stop anybody from talking. And from my experience in this initiative, time will never be enough. Uputa panel lasted 2.5 years or so. It was supposed to be 3 months. These guys are going to go, it will soon be time for everybody to go home for Christmas. So they'll come back in January. Then will probably go on till February. All right, then it will take you have to go back again to start thinking how you're going to deal with the delegates and so on and so forth. Then the governors will try and find their quote-unquote their boys and send to Abuja. And they're not going to sit for less than 7, 8 or 9 months. Then you are preparing for elections. Come on.
So you're not going to get any result from that? Is that what you will say? Do you expect any results to come out of this before?
I didn't set the exam, so I don't know what result am I going to expect. What result am I going to expect?